It's good to have you with me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. This is episode number 178, When and Why. When do you talk to a child about sex? When do you tell him he's adopted? When do you tell your little girl, I had sex before you were born, and the person you always thought was your dad isn't really your dad, but we got married when I was pregnant with you, and so legally we were already married, and that's the only dad you've ever known. These are all things with which I'm extremely familiar because they've happened in my own family. Uh, why would you ever tell a kid you were actually my sister's child, but she couldn't raise you because she was only 13? So we took you in, but your Aunt Trina, she's really your mom. Let's talk about trying to make an assessment about what's good for that child because some people really never need to hear that. No joke, it's not healthy for them. When do you say to your child, you know, I realize that some really bad things happened to you when you were a little kid. I know that someone sexually molested you, and I got out of that marriage. And you may not even remember it because you were so little. But I keep seeing things in your life where this is affecting you. And I think you need to get some counseling, and I really want to help you with this. Your kid's like, what are you talking about? When do you tell your kid that you're an alcoholic? When do you tell your kid that you're a drug addict? And you still are. And it's still affecting them every day. But you think you're hiding it or handling it so well they don't know. And really, sometimes they really don't. It's true. There are a lot of tough parts on the road of being a parent. I want to acknowledge that to you. It is some rough stuff. Wouldn't it be great if we lived in an ideal world and everybody's mom and daddy fell in love, got married, had their kids, still kept on loving each other? Nothing bad happened? Yo, dude, I'd be thrilled. So my life would look so different if that were the case. Except it's not. We live in an imperfect world. We are imperfect people. Our children are imperfect too. And there are a lot of situations that are far less than perfect and maybe even less than ideal. And they are parts of the story of our lives. So, when and why? Well, one of the easy ones is the reason that you tell someone something is they really need to know it. So the why can become because they really need to know. The when can be because it's time. They're going to go to kindergarten, and on their birth certificate, when you register them for school, is an entirely different name than the name they've always known because you had them 5 days before you got married, and their last name is still your maiden name, and they've never even heard that name before. So, when would be about then, or maybe even a few months ahead to get them ready. Uh, when do you tell them that you're going to get married again? Well, when they need to know. And that's usually not the day before. And, oh, well, yeah, I'm getting married tomorrow, and so is going to be your stepdad. So and so is going to be your stepmom. No, 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 no. When is when you finally decide you're getting serious about this person. And then you give your kids 6 months to adjust to the thoughts of all the things that are going to go on. Yeah, when is a little trickier than why. Um, I know someone who was adopted by their father. Their mom had them out of wedlock. They never had any idea till they were grown up and married that their dad was not their actual physical father. Wow, this was really tough and remains in many ways a challenge for this person. So it's not always easy to know when to tell someone, oh, you're adopted, your dad isn't really your dad, your mom died when you were a baby, and so this person that you've always known as your mom, she wasn't your birth mom. Yeah, it's really challenging. You might think that you want to tell it to them when they're 5 or 6, but they're not mature enough. Then they're 14 or 15 and they are mature enough, but now it's already been so long and they're going to act strangely because why didn't you tell me this before? And heaven forbid you let them to be 25 years old and now suddenly you want to talk to them because they're developing this unusual genetic disorder. It didn't come from your side, so they need to hear it. But you've gone all these years and never told them. Now, how are you going to tell them? And you understand what I'm saying. When is the challenge? You need to look at the maturity level of your child. You need to look at the need to know of your child. You need to look at the sensitivity of spirit of your child and try to come up with as reasonable an answer to that when question as you possibly can. The why question is often a matter of conscience. Why would I even tell them this? Well, because in all fairness, as someone that I'm really close to, that I really love, that I really care about, I feel like I need to share this with them. Okay. That would also include things about addiction. In why would you share that? Well, because I'm really probably going to go get treatment. So I'm going to be away for a month. They're not going to figure this out, and I'm not going to lie about it. So I need to tell them the truth of what's been going on with me. Or even if I'm still in the middle of my addiction, I actually might need to tell it to them so that all this weird stuff that keeps going on might actually make some sense to them. And I love them and I respect them enough to share with them the truth of my life, that I'm an addict and I'm struggling and I've struggled all through your lifetime and I'm still struggling, but I thought you should know about it. I don't want you going down the road I've gone down. It's a really painful path and I don't want you there. When and why, as a parent, I think, is one of the more challenging things that we have to contend with. Why would you ever talk to a girl about the fact that some guy might slip you something on a date and rape you? You wake up in the morning and you're sore and there's blood all over your inner thighs and you're not even sure where you are and what happened. When do you do that? Yeah, well, in my opinion, probably by the time they're 11 or 12. I wish I were kidding, except I'm not. If you've had a healthy discussion with them all through their lifetime about their sexuality and they understand their purity and their morality, and then you say to them as gently as you possibly can, there are some people in the world who might hurt you. And so if you go to a party, you never put your Coke down somewhere and go back and get it later. And you don't take one that someone hands you and just drink it, especially if they're older people. Now, by that, when you're 13 or 14, I mean 19 or 20. You don't do that. You have to be careful. You have to be aware that bad things happen. We tell our kids things because they need to know. Don't get in a car. Don't take candy from a stranger. Don't talk to people that you don't know. Don't let them talk you into going somewhere with them alone. Yeah, when do you do that? Easily by the time they're 4 or 5. No kidding. When they're old enough to process that not everybody in the world is safe and trustworthy, you have to tell them. Why in the world would you tell that stuff to a kid when it might scare them? Because it's a whole lot better to tell that to them and have them aware that sometimes they need to do things for their own safety than to have them taken and molested or harmed by some foolish person in the world. And it's easy to say, oh, that would never happen to me, but I bet every parent in the planet who's ever had bad things happen to their kids was the one who said, oh, that's not going to happen to me. And then it did. So you do have to warn your kids that there's bad stuff and there are bad people. I'm sorry that we have to do that. I mean, I'm sorry. I can't tell you how sorry I am. And still, we have to. I will honestly say this to you, and you may not like it, but I can't help it. If your little girl is 11 or 12 years old, chances are good that a dad should not be tucking her in by himself. And certainly not if he's gone for an hour. I'm just telling you the truth. Why? Because you have to use your head. And I'm really sad. I mean, my soul is heartbroken about this, but incest happens. So why is that? Because you want your children to be safe. I didn't teach my kids this, but I wish I had. And I certainly talk to kids about this now. If someone is trying to take you somewhere and they're not your parent, so you don't just do this because you think it's funny, but I mean seriously, someone is getting a hold of you and trying to take you somewhere. You scream at the top of your lungs. You kick, you fight, you bite, you scratch. You do everything in your power to get away from that person. I never hesitate to tell that to kids, especially a kid who's already been, I'll say, fondled or inappropriately touched, but not molested to the extent that it could happen. It's like, oh no, that person ever does anything to you again, you scream, you fight, you bite, you kick, you scratch, you everything you have to do to get away from them. You do not let that person hurt you. It is the right thing for you to do to fight and take care of yourself and not allow someone to hurt you. When and why would you tell that to your child? Again, probably by the time they're 5, 6, 7, they're in school, they're in a situation, they're standing outside waiting for someone to come and pick them up on the bus, whatever. They're now in a situation where they're exposed to others. It's appropriate to teach them that. It just is. It's appropriate to teach them about good touch, bad touch. When? Easily by the time they're 5 years old. You know how it feels great when I hug you and kiss you and hold you? That's how it should always feel. Someone tries to hug you and kiss you or touch you or hold you or touch you in places they shouldn't and it feels bad, don't let it happen. You come talk to me immediately. And oh, someone did that to my children and they did come and talk to me. They knew to come and talk to me. And oh, yes, I definitely handled it. It's a challenge. It really is. That's what I said. There are so many parts of being a parent. There are so many moments in life that can go wrong. We need to do our very best to have hearts that are aware of our kids and sensitive to how mature they are and how developed they are and what they can handle hearing and what they can't. And we need to do our best to tell them what they need to know within a time frame of when they need to hear it. We need to know that child well enough to know if they do need the information or really they can go the rest of their life without it. So why would I ever tell them? Because it's really not necessary. And I want to admit to you that some of those things are burdens that we have to carry as parents. That's okay because we're adults. We're big enough and tough enough. We can handle it and we need to. I don't have any questions that this one might bring up some comments from you, some issues, some ideas and suggestions. I'm very welcome and I would love to hear it. If you happen to have a difficult one and you don't want to put it in a public forum, then please send me a private email at paintabeautifulpicture@gmail.com. It's been really great having you with me today, and I am praying for you that you have real wisdom and discernment about when and why you share things with your children. You may find additional information on our paintabeautifulpicture.com website. Additionally, you may watch me on Rumble, and you may also listen to a podcast on Buzzsprout or Spreaker, all under the name Paint a Beautiful Picture. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. You may subscribe, and if you are interested in receiving notifications, please hit the notifications button.